Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today I want to talk to you about something pretty important when it comes to any character in the game. And it is, why is running so very bad in Diablo 2? And why it gets you killed, and why you should avoid it. Now, obviously, running, it has its own unique characteristics. Being able to run around is, of course, faster, and who doesn't like running around fast? But there are so many downsides to running, and it's almost as if the developers specifically were targeting anyone who wanted to run because they put on so many penalties to the running ability that it's absolutely insane. And before we go over what they've done to running to make running so undesirable, let's go over the calculations for things like defense and blocking. Right? So, first off, let's look at defense. So here's the formula for defense, and as you can see, its chance to be hit equals 100 times AR divided by AR plus DR times 2 times A level divided by A level plus D level AR of the attacking monster. So this is the chance to hit, and if I go out here and I go over to a monster, let the monster wail on me once or twice. And then I go back into the character panel. I can hold my mouse over the effect, and it will say what is the chance that a fallen will hit me. So as you can see, average chance that a fallen will hit you is 48%. Chance to block is 52%. However, when I run, you notice how the defense turns into two little red lines. The reason why this happens is because when you are running, the entire formula that you see on the screen is thrown out the window. Any attack that can hit you will hit you when it comes to running. So it doesn't matter how much defense you have. You could literally be driving around a Sherman tank. But when you initiate the run-walk button and you send your character in a speedy move toward wherever he or she wants to go, you will now have disabled all of your defense. So your defense goes to absolutely nothing. But what about blocking? Surely my blocking still works while I'm running, right? I mean, as you can see here, I have a 52% chance to block, so I should still be able to block an attack, right? Wrong. Well, mostly. So here's the blocking formula. And as you can see, it's total blocking equals blocking times dexterity minus 15 divided by character level times 2. If a player is running, the total block percentage is reduced to 1/3 of its original value with a cap of 25%. Which means that even if you are at 75% block, or even if you're higher than 75% block, it doesn't matter. Because you can be higher than 75% block, you just can't actually utilize it. It's like being overprotected from a resistance. You can have higher than 85% poison resistance, as you can see I have 85 right now, but it doesn't actually do anything. But if you were to encounter a monster who reduced your resistances, it would in fact help you out a little bit. And in this case, it is blocking your cap. So you used to have a 75% cap, and now you got a 25% cap while you're running. So while you are running, you literally lose all your defense, and it's not even so it's important to say it differently than this. You don't actually lose your defense. What happens is it just ignores the fact that you ever had defense at all, which is a big difference. All right. So if it just sets your defense to 0. It would still have to go through the calculation. It would still have to figure out the monster's level. It would still have to figure out your level. It would still have to do some calculations. And ignores target's defense works this way. So if you've ever played around with the ignores target's defense mechanic, ignores target's defense just removes the attack rating portion of this formula. It still runs the rest of the formula. So if a monster that attacks you is extremely low level, it still has to pass the A level and the D level and all this other stuff, and you've got to figure out whether the monster actually has a chance to hit you or not. But when you're running, there's no calculation. It ignores the calculation entirely. It throws the calculation out the window, and it's like, oh, can you hit him? Well, then go ahead. And it literally just lets even a level 1 monster stab you in the eye. Delicious. And if that's not bad enough, you have all your blocking essentially capped at 25%. You have your defense formula is completely taken away, and everyone is allowed to hit you free of charge. And then we have another downside. All right, so if you are an Amazon specifically, you may have noticed that you have these beautiful things called evades. You've got the dodge, you've got the avoid, and then you've got the evade. And the evade is the one that is really the issue here. So the formula for Amazons is that when you go into an encounter, a monster tries to swing at you. You know, he's like, eh. All right. First, he has to bypass your defense, which if you're running, he's already gone. So he's already passed it. He's bashed your defense and he's onto your blocking. You're running, so you only have a 25% chance to block. And actually, for me, because I have only a 52% chance, my 52% chance is cut down to 1/3 of its original value. So you know, you could do that on a calculator if you wanted to. You could take 52% and you could subtract 66%, and that would give me a total block chance of 17.68. So if I'm running, I only have a 17.68% block chance, and the monster only has to get past the 17.68% block chance, which is really low, and there's a good chance he's going to get by it. And then what happens is it triggers your evades. All right, so if you are running, you're obviously not going to be using your dodge or your avoid. And this is important because dodge and avoid aren't the problem. Dodge and avoid are actually really nice. And if you're standing still and you're utilizing your defense and you're utilizing your shield and you're utilizing, you know, everything that you've built up on your character, these evades are not the issue. What is the issue is that the actual skill with the name evade is only when you are running. And so during this period of time when you are running is the worst possible chance for you to evade, because it's the last calculation on the list. And it's the last calculation on the list for a reason. Because you want your defense to work first. You want your shield to work second. You want your faster hit recovery to work absolutely dead last, and evade is literally the last thing before faster hit recovery. Like, it's literally all the steps. You've got your level keeping the monster from hitting you. You've got the defense from keeping the monster from hitting you. You've got your blocking from keeping the monster from hitting you. You've got your evade from keeping the monster from hitting you, and then finally the monster hits you. And so what happens is if you're running, you will trigger your evade, your worst possible skill. And when you trigger the evade, you're going to stop. And it's going to force you into these awkward situations where you are unable to get out of. Especially when you have multiple evades proccing at a time. Well, the thing is that normally if your defense is doing its job and your blocking is doing its job, you're not going to get these evades on a regular basis. Because it's got to filter through everything down the line to get to your actual evade skill. And this is the silly thing about the evade skill, is that when you're walking, it's not a big deal. When you're walking, you can just walk into a group of monsters. Your defense is working, your blocking is working, your evades are triggering every now and then because something is getting through all of your defenses. Those things that are getting through every single bit of your defenses, those things are going to cause your character a little bit of trouble. But for the most part, it's all being filtered out in a nice little chain. But when you run, you're removing defense from the chain. You're smashing your block chance with a hammer. And basically, you're giving the only skill left that works while you're moving is your ability to evade. And if I were to go somewhere actually dangerous, like, let's say Frigid Highlands. So let's go somewhere actually dangerous, and let's run around in here. And if I run around in here, you're going to notice that very quickly, as these monsters wail away on me, I'm going to start getting stuck. And so now I'm stuck in the center of them, and I can't get over. I'm going to use the force move ability here. It's a little difficult to get out from in between them. If it wasn't for the fact that my dodges and evades and everything were so high, I probably would have been dead by now. Oh no, my poor mercenary. Don't die! No! You bastards! So, what was the point of this video? The point of this video was to demonstrate to you guys and gals how dangerous it is to run away. And I'd like to talk about some other scenarios. Let's say, for instance, you're in a battle. You're fighting a monster. Let's say you're fighting Diablo. All right? You're doing pretty good. All right? But you're not winning. And it becomes apparent to you, maybe somewhere in the middle, that you don't really have the hit points or the life steal or whatever it is, and you're very slowly losing to Diablo. And you can recognize this fact. You recognize that you're not winning, but you're also not really losing very quickly. And so what happens is you decide to run away because you feel like you are eventually going to die. And you're in there and you're attacking your target. So let's just pretend we're attacking something, shall we? So you're in here and you're attacking your target. You know, you're doing your thing. You're shooting your bow, whatever it happens to be. You're firing your little bolts off, and you realize that you're not going to win. All right. And what do? You turn and you run away. All right. So you're fighting, and then you turn and run away. And in that instant that you turn and run away, your defense hits 0. Your blocking goes down to 1/3 of its original capacity, and you are now a sitting duck. And if the boss manages to land a hit on you in this situation when you're running away, in that brief second that you are trying to escape, you have no defenses, and he's going to obliterate you. And many times I have seen people on YouTube streams, as well as playing with them, and even myself, where I'm in a situation like this where I'm barely doing okay, and I decide to run away, and all of a sudden I'm almost dead, or I die. And the reason why you die is because you are moving out of the fight in a way that basically makes you flat-footed. In D&D, it's actually called flat-footed. So when in D&D, when your character is caught flat-footed, he basically doesn't have any defense. He doesn't have any ability to defend himself, and whatever attack comes in with a really strong, chance to not only hit you, but yeah. Basically, being caught flat-footed is very bad. Well, the original developers of Diablo 2 had it in their mind to make running essentially the same thing. If you were running in Diablo 2, it's like being caught flat-footed. Most of your defenses are gone. And this is important, because if you're in a situation like this where you're almost dying, but not quite, and you feel like you could escape and come back with maybe a different game plan and win, don't run away. Instead, toggle your run-walk, get at least about a certain distance away from the monster that is wailing on you. Then toggle your run back on and get the hell out of dodge. If you do this, you will save your life a lot of the times. In those situations where things are very close. Especially with monsters that do an excessively large amount of physical damage. Like cows. You may have noticed that when you're in the cow level and you start to run around the cows, like you panic and you start running around the cows, things go really badly. And the reason is because it doesn't matter how much defense you have, and it doesn't matter how much blocking you have. If you're running around the cows and you're ruining all your defenses and all your block chance, the cows are going to hand you your butt. Remember, defense doesn't reduce the damage that you take. It only stops the monster from hitting you. All right? And if you take away your defense, the monsters can all hit you willy-nilly. And your block chance doesn't reduce damage either. It just stops the monster from hitting you. So all these things, defense and block chance, are there to help prevent you from being hit. And running takes that away and makes it so that all the monsters can hit you whenever they feel like it. Anyway, I hope that I have at least given you guys an idea of why running is so bad in Diablo 2, and hopefully impressed upon you the need to hit the to hit the walk button every now and then when you're in very difficult situations. Especially if you are a melee character who is in melee range all the time. It is important to remember this, because when you are in melee range and when you are surrounded by monsters and you have, say 20 or 30 monsters all performing checks to hit you, they are trying to bypass your defenses. And running while you're in the middle of 20 or 30 monsters is like opening up the castle door and saying, "Come on in." Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.